What's up, guys? Welcome back and Happy New Year's. Here I have a new release. It's a Blade helicopter, and I'm just kidding. It's not a new release, but in my opinion, this is what the Blade 150 should have been. This is a Blade 150S. It's the current model that's out, and it's rocking the Fusion 180 mainframe. A few things about this frame and this helicopter. It's still the same size. Um, If you wanted to, you can make it the size of the Fusion 180. If you put the Fusion 180 tail boom, and then you can also, put on those 180 blades. This is a 3S machine, but that motor is rated for 3S, and it's a higher kV, so head speed isn't a problem. And I really don't find this motor bogging down too much. But what do you need to do this to make yours, run this frame? All you need is the frame, the tail uh, boom mount. You can use the aluminum one or the plastic one. I went with the plastic one because I was able to pretty much clip away that portion here where you would have the belted tail pulley guides. And so now you have a pretty open view of the wires, and you can kind of route them nicer, and that's not in the way. With the aluminum one, you can also do it, but then it just gets messy and it looks nasty because you got metal exposed, and it is anodized in black. But there you have it. I mean, with the original 180, with the original 180 CFX, I mean, that's the original frame they used for the Blade 150S. So really, I think they should honestly just do away with that frame. This frame, in my opinion, looks so much better. It's a little bigger, and the space for wiring is much nicer. And it's just a more streamlined process with this one and the look. And it's pretty. They're both rigid. I mean, just in my opinion, this resembles, the Fusion lineup. And I understand that the 150 wasn't part of the Fusion lineup, but it'd be nice to just do away with that frame and just deal with one frame. And I mean, it gets it done. I didn't have to modify anything on this helicopter to make it work. Actually, the only one thing I will say is the pinion on the motor. You will have to move that a little higher up, and that's just because the main gear on the Fusion 180 sits a little lower, and the reason being is because it has that upper belt pulley that's part of the gear so that it can have clearance. But as you can see, this gear dropping down a bit is right in the center where it would be. It doesn't look like it doesn't belong, everything, excuse me there, see, everything's just nice and centered. So I am using that Delrin gear. I'm sure they still make it. I have two of these. I just ordered them maybe a month ago. The Delrin gear has a aluminum center hub, which is cool because it's like a clamping style hub. I haven't stripped this in crashes, and I've crashed multiple times. Now I do have a steel main motor pinion. That is something I was able to find on Link's website. They no longer make those. I wish that Blade would switch over from brass to steel because these gears tend to wear and get noisy. The steel ones don't wear at all, and they last a long time. And that's just creates a smooth operation with the gears. Because I've noticed that with the brass ones, once they start to wear, they create a pretty like high frequency a vibration, where I found at least on the Fusion 180, the flybarless unit picks up a lot on those vibrations, and it's not much. It's just like a buzz, like a little, it's high frequency, so it picks up on it, and it flies different as to, in comparison to a new gear. But that's not the point of the video. It's just things I wanted to point out. But yes, this thing has a Fusion 180 frame, very easy to do. Like with all these micros that they offer as far as the 150 and 180, you can swap whatever landing gear on these because they do share multiple parts. Like the bottom frame is the same, the bearing blocks are the same, the distance from the bearing blocks are the same because they use the same servos. The front battery tray is the same. The motor changes in kV because the Fusion 180 is a 4S setup. and this one is a 3S. That motor, I've tried the Fusion 180, but it just on 3S it won't spool up. You won't get much head speed, so you'll have to use a Blade 150S motor. I have in on the other hand put the Blade 150S motor on the Fusion 180, and I run that on 3S, and the head speed is insane. I'm sure I'm losing some torque, but it's not enough to, it's not noticeable, not a noticeable amount. Now with this frame change, I mean, I've always had a hard time getting this helicopters to CG right. And what I mean by that is getting the weight distributed evenly from the tail to the nose. This one it currently has a, what is that, a 600 milliamp battery. And if you see as I hold it, it's gonna fall towards the tail. Now I have a fix for that. Now that I'm running a little bigger frame. I mean, it's the same size frame, honestly, but with this frame, I can fit a bit. The Fusion 180 canopy is a little larger in size, and the reason this is harder to CG is because this has this huge brushless motor, which is another thing I wish Horizon Hobby can do away with, and just kind of use the motor that they're using with the Fusion 180 in Fusion 180. Sorry, see, because that motor is very tiny and small, and it's much more responsive too. It's quicker. I mean, it makes the tail snappier and more locked in, but it's less heavy, so it's easier to CG that helicopter. But yeah, so let me jump right in. I mean, we have this 850 pulse milliamp LiPo. See, with this LiPo, this helicopter CG's really nice, and the battery isn't too oversized. I mean, this is what you will run on an OMPM2. This helicopter is just the same size as those other helicopters, and as you can see, I do have OMP straps on this helicopter. I support all brands and models, but the reason I put that one is because I lost my other one. But here you can have it. See where here's the tail, and then that thing CG's now perfect. Like, I'm wiggling it and it doesn't fall anywhere. And then so it's a little, maybe a little nose heavy, like just barely. If you move the battery all the way to the back, you wouldn't have those problems. But it's so much better. TikToks and everything feels better. So the power on this is insane. It's really good. And another thing I want to point out is how I'm using you can use any head, honestly. I've used the Infusion 180 head, but that one's a bit beefy. But you can use a swash plate as well. On one of my other helicopters, I'm actually running the OMPM2 V2 swash plate on this. And it's pretty cool because it's very, rigid. There's no play in it. You can tell that this one has a lot of play in within the links. And these servos are worn out too. So there's quite some play in there. Let me see if I can get it with this one. Yeah, so you can see the servo arm move. You can see everything move all the way up to the top. It doesn't affect flight other than the helicopter. This one has a lot of wear on it because of multiple crashes, but it flies very good. And the only thing I notice is there's like a bit of a flutter at 0 pitch, and that's because of the blades shifting around because all that play. But there's no shaking or anything like that. Tail holds very nice. I didn't have to tune it, and I do have a 2-blade tail prop on here. That's a Goose Sky tail prop. I'll show a video of how I mounted that, and it pretty much just goes right on. All you'll need is to kind of shorten up this rear tail hub that comes with the helicopter already. Put like a spacer. I use the beauty washer from the Fusion 480, and then you can mount up so it can sit flat, and then just kind of shorten up that little the little what would you call it, the little shaft that goes through the prop, and then that way everything sits nice and flat on it. It rests on the hub, and so then everything just tightens up, and it uses that single bolt in the center. And yeah, I have to cut that blade a bit shorter though, just to the same diameter as the one that comes on the Blade 150S, and this one's a bit more aggressive on the pitch, so it makes up for the same. It's the same thing in a sense. It's not too much different. there's not much of a difference in weight, because weight, pitch will affect the tuning of the tail PIDs. But this one pretty much does, it performs the same. I mean, I've compared them and removed it. I didn't have to tune anything out. And yeah, so now if you notice the frame, check it out. The wiring's so much more easy, simpler. You got more space at the bottom with the flybarless unit. And you got, your wires all organized. I didn't really do much to organize this. You got your antenna at the back. You got nothing at the bottom like you would normally see on the 150. You got nothing on the left side. Nothing on the left side. It's just very streamlined and clean. You got just a clean panel all the way to the back. Clean, clean, clean. And that's it. I mean, the connectors are all hidden because this frame's a little bigger. It's just because the tail has this, all that changes really on the frame is that the tail kind of has this little, nice droop to the back where it kind of just, it's really, in my opinion, stronger than the other frame. It's bigger here. And it just looks very streamlined. But here's a 150, and I think it's a really good machine. It could use an update. A nice revamp would be nice. And then that way you guys don't have to keep buying different parts. I mean, you could just stock up parts for one helicopter and just get the different parts that apply to the other. I'd rather stock up on this frame now than having to go buy the 150 frame, and it works. So there's no reason, that way, I guess the support of this helicopter, it'd be easier now. And I am running these Rail 150 mil carbon fiber blades, and that's my Fusion 150. Oh, and I did use my camera's not focusing here. The Infusion 180 tail fin to mount up to this aluminum cased tail motor mount by Raycon, but I did have to grind away on that tail fin so that it can clear the motor about 2 millimeters, so it doesn't come into contact. I've crashed it before and it doesn't break that easy either, but it has not moved for sure where the point where it may contact the motor or scratch it. But this is again the 150 with the Fusion 180 mainframe, and I mean, I guess the possibilities are endless or are not limited, because you can also choose whatever landing gear is offered for the Fusion 180. You can use the carbon fiber one, you can use the new taller ones, that 2-piece landing gear they offer. And yeah, I mean, and then only thing is that you will have to keep using from the 150 is the main shaft, main gear, of course. You could honestly run the Fusion 180 main gear with the Fusion 180 main shaft, but I don't recommend it because you'll be pushing around that pulley that you're not running a belt through. So that's what look weird. And yeah, that's it. I mean, everything looks aesthetically like it all belongs. It doesn't look like it's been modified. And there's the Fusion 180. Thank you guys for watching.